Huge weekend for us coming in here knowing that we had 6 drivers still with a mathematical chance at the championship. But after qualifying, of course, our leader, Santi Arruti, able to put the car on the pole to get that bonus point. And he really looked like he had a car that we believed may be able to kind of run away. That was obviously an issue. But one thing they didn't do is I don't think they did a long run on the tires, so he obviously had an issue on track. This allowed all 3 of these drivers to close up in the points, and it's going to make things very exciting when we get to Monterey. Let's start with the driver coming home in 3rd place, Andre Negrao. I'll begin by saying, Andre, congratulations on continuing the momentum we've seen out of you. Obviously learning the facility, learning the track, learning the team, learning the car throughout the first part of the year, but man, things started to click at Road America for you, and you've been on the podium so many times since then. Strong run at Toronto as well, and you must feel fantastic with the way things are going. Another podium for you. Congratulations. Talk a little bit about your race. You fell back at the start, but you were able to kind of claw yourself forward. Let's talk about the start first.
In the start, I did a drop in my engine when I put the throttle on, so I lost some position there. Then I lock up in the first corner. Then I just stayed there a little bit, try to stay with the guys in front. And then, well, when I lock my tires, the car started to vibrate a lot. And then this is going worse and worse during the race. I tried to pass my teammate in the beginning, but I couldn't. Then I pushed to pass, then I passed him, and John is already gone. And I'm not able to pass him during the race because my tires is already gone as well. So, wow, I did a good job today, the team also as well. During the race, I think, oh my God, the tire is blowing up because it's vibrating a lot. So I just stay cool in the middle of the race, then I push to the end, and, well, I arrived P3, so it's good for the team as well.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
Let's move down here to Ed Jones. Of course, Ed, coming into the race, knowing that their primary challenger, the guy that was leading the points, was on pole. You know you needed a pretty good start. The way things happened, you kind of settled in there, and the battle looked like it was going to be between you and Santi after Zach was able to get away. Can you talk about your mindset a little bit when you were trying to close on Santi, knowing that you had to take care of the tires at the same time, but really wanted to get in front of him? You really had to finish in front of him here today.
Yeah, exactly. It was disappointing qualifying. We were the fastest out there. I think, we're on to be pole by quite a margin until Santi held me up. So it was a bit frustrating when we got done over there. But we knew we were the fastest, and so at that point. Then at the start, I tried to go to the outside, which didn't quite work out. Fell back a few places. And then I was just stuck behind Santi for a bit because when I was using push-to-pass, he was using it to cover me as well. Then eventually I got past, and it was weird, after say 10 laps, the degradation was really high already, and I expected it to get a lot worse, but then towards the end of the race, if anything, it got a little bit better than it had been. So, it was a bit odd.
Did you take care of the tires in the middle of the race for a while? Did you back off? I know you guys were running 36s, I believe. I think some of the guys were running 34s. Felix was further back trying to run. He was running 34s the whole race. Did you kind of cool down there midway through?
Yeah, just the whole race, really. I was driving to the limit of the tire and just trying not to slide it anywhere, So you're still pushing hard, but you're just below the absolute limit, and I think that's what saved us. And I could see Santi in front of me. Obviously, he was sliding the car a lot, which works at tracks like Mid-Ohio, but when you have a smooth surface and high-speed corners, it's not very good.
Obviously, coming into this race, really the only goal was to make sure you got more points than Santi did to be able to close up in the points championship. Give me your thoughts on going into Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca next weekend. Do you feel like you can build momentum off of today's event, today's performance?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like with the pace we've had this year and our qualifying record, I've underperformed a lot in the races, and it's not really been acceptable for the speed we've had. But I feel like I've sorted that out over the summer break, and we know that when we have a good run in qualifying and our speed's right, no one can really match us. So I'm really confident going into Laguna. We had a fast car last year there, and so we should be really strong there again.
Well, congratulations on today. Well done. Moving to the middle of the table here now, obviously a huge win for this young driver. A great job by Belardi Auto Racing. Zach, I know you guys have had some issues a little bit throughout this weekend. You had some issues with I believe the clutch pedal earlier today. They think it might have been a starter issue. You were late getting to the grid because the car had to essentially get bump started. to be able to put that behind you and focus on what you needed to do. Talk about the very start of the race a little bit, because I think that start obviously is what was the key for you to be able to make that move around the outside coming up through the S's.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, just today's been kind of weird to begin with because the first, well, in qualifying, I come in for my, first new set of tires and coming down pit lane trying to find the clutch pedal, and it's non-existent. One of the rods broke, so the pedal face fell completely in the floor of the car. And then, yeah, right before the start of the race, we had kind of a starter failure. So my guys were like constantly changing batteries and starters, trying to figure out what we needed to get started and get going. And luckily, we found what the problem was, and we got to get out there. But yeah, with the start, I mean, honestly, it's just being at the right place at the right time. I feel like we didn't get the qualifying we wanted, but I don't know if we had enough speed to catch Santi, but I think we had a top 3 car regardless, and we just got lucky. People kind of put me in the right position to get through it, and then I just caught Santi's draft going into the bus stop, and that allowed me to get kind of around him. And from then on, honestly, we had a lot to think about with the tires, but I knew I had to build somewhat of a gap. So the first 5 laps, I was pushing really hard. First 10 laps, still pushing pretty hard. Then build up kind of a gap, and like he was saying, we started picking up a vibration. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, I think my race is over because I've been pushing too hard on these. But luckily, it kind of just leveled out. And at that point, I still had a bunch of push-to-passes left. And I just kind of coasted around, took care of my tires. And, anytime I heard that the gap was closing behind me, I just used the push-to-passes, and that kept me where I needed to be.
About 10 laps in, I went over and talked to Kent Boyer, and I said, you know what, you guys have been pushing hard. I think you had about a 5-second lead at that point. And I said, what's he saying? Are the tires going off at all? And he said, no, tires are great, everything's good, and that what the pace you were running was easy on the tires. Is that kind of the pretty much effective of what you were saying?
Yeah, most definitely. And the thing was, the car characteristics was very similar to what we had at Road America. The car is very free on entry, and then throughout the high-speed long corners, you were just, multiple saves keeping it under you. So I was, to be honest, a little worried that I was using the rears up a little too quickly with all the sliding, but I was able to calm that down and adjust my bars and get to a good point that I could, take care of my stuff until the end. But yeah, my engineer is definitely more frantic than me. He was screaming at me multiple times to back off, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that does more good or bad, because once you start thinking about trying to go slower, I just found myself making more mistakes.
Looking forward, of course, to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Coming into these last 3 races, you know the pressure is on you to win races. That's just where you are in terms of the points. You're able to claw back a ton this time here at Watkins Glen. Going to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, does the mindset